How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today I'm going to be answering a question for somebody who recently adopted a 10-month-old Shiba puppy. So first of all, congratulations to the new puppy. This puppy is not used to wearing collars and won't go anywhere near a harness. So I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks that I use to get any dog, particularly Shibas that I've worked with in the past, comfortable with anything on their body. So if you're ready for that, let's get started. So first off, to get started, we're going to start with a collar. This is a martingale. You can use any regular flat buckle collar. I do recommend the type with either a regular buckle or a snap, something that's easy to put on and take off, versus something that is just a fixed collar, like something that doesn't have one of these. It's just straight cloth that slips over the dog's head. When you're first starting with an animal, a puppy, an older dog, anything that is not used to having something around their neck can feel a little bit restricting and they can be a little bit fearful. So what I like to do is make it easy on everybody and start with something that's easy on and easy off. So for example, if I'm helping out this puppy, I've worked with two Shiba puppies actually in the past on this very issue. And they're both a little bit older, a couple months older than you would typically start them, right off the bat. So if we have a puppy that sees this as a negative, then we got to make it a positive. We can do that by conditioning the puppy. We have this. I wouldn't necessarily have the tag on it because the extra noise can make it a little bit irritating, but it depends on your puppy. So I would just show it to them. If they run away, then okay, that's where we start. Where I'm going to show it to them. They can move away, they can give themselves distance, whatever, that's fine. I'm not trying to catch them. It's important to understand this is a process, not an event. So it might take a few sessions, might take a little while. Just be patient and you'll get there. So I show the puppy wherever they are, then I can toss a treat to them. Or I can leave a treat here, in between ourselves. Or I can just show it to them from such a far distance they don't feel the need to run away. Or you might just lay it on the ground. Just put it in a high traffic area of your home where, in the den, maybe, in the corner somewhere, in the bedroom, somewhere where your puppy will walk by it normally and, on their daily rounds, but not so much that it's in their face constantly. And we just kind of get them to habituate around it. For the puppies that I worked with, I would put it on the ground and I would put some treats around it. And they would kind of tiptoe and go and take the treat and run away. And I was okay with that. And then eventually they would come and get in the treat and they would say, oh, okay, this isn't going to come and attack me. It's not going to be put on me. I'm not going to be forced to wear this yet. Or at all. We shouldn't force anything to wear anything, especially that they're not comfortable with. So then the puppy would come over regularly. And then I would start kind of moving it a little, or I would put my hand towards it and just kind of move it a little bit. I'm going to be referring a lot to pressure and release. It's also known as advance and retreat, or stimulus, response, and reward. Whichever of those you want to call it, I just call it simply pressure and release. Thinking about you do this, you move this, it's stimulating, you're adding a stimulus to the dog, whether they react to it or they respond to it. Reaction meaning you move this, they run away. So that's why stimulus, response would be that they stay there, and reward is that we can give them a reward, a treat. When it comes to pressure and release, you don't want to use too much. Think of your dog as a balloon. And if I'm doing this in their face and they're afraid of it already, that's a lot of pressure and that balloon's going to pop. And that means that the dog is way over threshold. They're too nervous. They're going to run away. They're not learning the right thing. So a little bit of pressure, and this is release, stopping the movement of the collar. So if we can have this on the ground and I can move it like this, or I can just show it to the dog and eventually I can get a little bit closer to the dog and move away, say I'm the dog or the puppy or whatever it may be. This works on older animals as well. So you just move it close to them and move it away. If you move it closer to the puppy and they freak out and they move away, then too much pressure. No problem. We can make that less scary. We just hold it here next to the dog and we can give them a treat. A lot of times I'll hold it while giving them a treat and I just kind of move it closer and away. While they're nibbling on the treat, I don't give it to them right away. Just kind of move it closer and back. And eventually I'm just going to be able to tap it on the ground, tap it all around, move it all around, be able to touch them with it on their body. A lot of people might think that this is a bit overkill, and that's fine. If you want to just put it on your puppy, you can. That's an option. You could just wrestle your puppy to the ground, put it on, leave it on them, and then eventually they'll get used to it. I don't recommend it, but that's an option. For me, when it comes to desensitizing an animal to anything, specifically any type of tool they're going to be using in their day-to-day life, I don't think you can desensitize enough. So I like to go overkill, whatever you want to call it. I like to go over and over again. Make sure my animal is comfortable with this kind of thing, and then eventually you can go over here and touch them on the neck and whatever you want to do. So say you're at the point where your puppy is readily taking treats. You can even hold it like this. You can have your hand here. The puppy can start putting their nose through, get the treat. They're going to run away. That's okay. They continue to do that. And then eventually when they're reliably taking the treat through this, putting their nose through it, then you can hold the treat there for a couple seconds and let them sit there and nibble at it. And then once they get their treat, you can see if they're going to keep that head there without the food lure in the way. That's perfect. That's great progress for you. That'll be helpful when you have a collar that's going to slip over their head. But in the beginning, when you're first putting one on, I prefer something that has a nice clip that's easy to put on and take off. So when it comes to the point of, okay, we're ready, we can wiggle it around, the dog's not worried about it, we can drop it, we can move it over here, we can move it over here, it's going to make noise, the dog doesn't see it as anything negative. Then we start working on putting it on the puppy, or the dog, whatever, or horse, whatever you're working with. Then we start opening it up, and we start moving towards the dog. Remember, this is pressure. The dog might get nervous. So we move it towards them, we move it away. If they don't, run away, and reward. This is pressure, release, and reward. So if I were the dog and you're coming towards me, pressure, I get a little bit nervous, I'm not so sure, you move it away, and reward. I hope I didn't put the little mic there. And then you just do this, and you don't expect to put it on the dog right away. Don't be sneaky. Dogs are very smart. If you try to do this and try to think that you're going to get one over on them, then they learn, I don't trust you, and it's going to take twice as long or 3 times as long to work. Okay, the slow way is the fast way. It's a process, not an event. So once we can do this readily and the dog is not reacting anymore, and you can do this and leave it there a little bit longer, then you can go and maybe just hold it all the way around for a second. Let it go and reward. Or you can put it around the dog's neck, hold it, we're not snapping it, it's not locked in place, and you can feed the dog a couple of treats while it's on there, and then take it off. Try not to be greedy about this. You're going to get success, and it's great, and trust me, I always try to push it, and I always regret it. So if you can do this, and you're able to give them treats, then leave it there. Don't snap it on, don't tighten it right away, don't put it on and lock it in place. Try to give your dog a little bit of a break and go slow. It may work out that you can just put it on your dog and they'll be fine, or you may put it on and they learn, I don't like this, it's scary, and they scratch it, or they go crazy. I've had a couple of puppies before, a pit bull puppy that was several months old. She had never had a leash on, never had a collar on, and I went to go just slip a little leash on her. She freaked out. She was running around like it was trying to attack her and was crazy, did alligator rolls. She was freaking out. So we had to go very, very slow with her. Totally fine. I've got all day. It doesn't matter to me. I don't mind it. So once you can get your dog comfortably like this, and you take it off and you can hold it for a couple seconds, then you can try snapping it on. And this is actually a good example. When you're putting it on, and you saw that I was just having trouble on myself, make sure you know how to use the tool and you can do it easily and you're not fumbling with it, because the more you fumble, the more frustrated you'll get, the more frustrated the pet will get. And then we end up taking it out on the pet because they're fidgeting when it's really not that big of a deal. Don't be too hard on yourself. Certainly don't be hard on the animal. If they freak out, okay, we just want to work on this, make sure that we can snap it, get it to go right away. And I like to start underneath the dog's neck. Don't go overhand. Don't go over your dog's head like this. That can be a little bit intimidating. Try to go underhand, just like if you were petting a pet. You want to go for the chest and not so much the head. Chest, shoulder, not so much the head right away. So you want to bring it on, bring it over, snap it right away, and then give your dog a couple of treats. And then you can take it off right away depending on how they react to it, or you can leave it on and just get them really interested on something else. You can get them, toss some treats around, or take them outside for a little walk, or whatever it is. And they may scratch it, they're not used to it, they may shake a little bit. Just as long as they're not harming themselves, then they should be okay. Leave it on for a little bit, maybe 30 minutes or so, and then you can take it off. I wouldn't recommend just like putting it on and then keeping it on all day. That's just me. It could be a little more irritating to the dog, but some people put it on and that's it. Okay, they keep it on forever. Okay, that's fine. So now that we've worked with a clipping collar, then we can work on a harness. And a harness is my favorite tool to use, and also a little bit more difficult. But, I always like a challenge. It's always good to get your dog used to a challenge. So a lot of dogs, particularly the Shibas that I have worked with, wouldn't go anywhere near a harness because they're not used to wearing things. It's constricting. It's around their body. It's like kids that don't like to wear clothes, It's a totally foreign object to them. And so we just have to teach them that it can be fun, that this means going outside, going for car rides, having fun, play dates, whatever. I'm very particular about the type of harnesses I like to use. I like something that allows free movement of the shoulders, so the dog will be in here, and you have shoulder room here and here. It's not gonna, I don't want it to dig into the collarbone or the throat area, so they can breathe freely. This one is, I believe this might be considered a Y harness or an X harness. I'm not really sure. Maybe a Y, because it looks like a Y shape there. That allows for the dog's full freedom of their body. They're comfortable. There's no strap going across the shoulders that restricts their movement. This is not a sponsor by any means. If you want this exact one, it's Poi Pet. You can get it on Amazon. I just like this one in particular because it has 3 snaps. It has the 2 on the sides, obviously. It also has one at the front. So you can either use this as a walk-in harness, or if you need to, you can do it just like the collar, where you go around the dog's body and you snap it in place. They both have locks. Both of these have locks on them, so that way you don't accidentally unsnap it. You can unlock it and then it comes undone. So, again, not sponsored. Nobody knows I exist, and that's okay. So, you'll notice this guy right here. This is just a little bit of paracord and a carabiner. I just tied this on here because I'm a helicopter parent. It's when I have the leash hooked here. I can also hook this to the end of the clasp, so that way I have a 2-point system. So if one were to break, or if this leash were to ever come undone, we are still hooked here. So that's just what I do. But back to getting your dog used to wearing one of these. So if you have a dog that is particularly nervous about one, you can use one that does this. Same thing like with the collar. We're going to start all over with training, where maybe we just have this laying on the ground and put some treats around it. Let your dog get close to it, and you're going to move it around. Let them know over time that it's going to move, and it doesn't mean it's going to go on them, and they're going to be restricted, and they need to panic. Just move it a little bit. If I'm holding it like this, move it a little bit. Dog doesn't run away, reward. Move it again. Dog doesn't run away, reward. If I do this and the dog runs away, too much pressure. So I will just that much, and then reward. And you're going to, again, just get your dog used to it, being able to bring it closer to them, let them sniff it, put it on their body. And this can take time, just like with the collar, where when you want to go and touch them on their body, get them used to this feeling, they might run away because they think you're going to put it on them. Have patience and just work your way up to it. If you can only get this close to them before they feel the need to run, then work there. Start there, where you have it right here, you move it a little closer, you move it away, and then reward. Pressure, release, reward. Stimulus, response, reward. And just practice with that. And then eventually you can have them, again, do the little maneuver where they move their head in closer and closer, and they keep it there a little bit longer. After you've done your homework of getting them used to things under their belly, such as this strap, then you can go over and hold this here under one little arm, and then let go and reward, or by then you might be able to just clasp it on. They might be ready to go. From my experience of working with the older puppies that I have and older dogs, it does take a little bit longer to really get them used to wearing one of these and honestly be comfortable in it. We can put them on and then take them outside, but as soon as we take it off, it's always going to be a battle getting their harness on, because they just don't have that positive association with it. Even if we go outside, they kind of forget it's there. It's the process of putting it on that they dislike. So you can do that. You can just put it on and leave it on for, a day or so, or a couple hours, or whatever you want to do. I don't recommend that, but, again, I like the slow way. I think the slow way is the fast way. And that way you don't have to chase your dog and corner them just to put their harness on. So this is one option of a harness. And this is another. This is your pretty typical average run-of-the-mill, just harness, with the handle and little patch and the little D-rings on the side there. I just happen to put in training on there. This is Adonis. This is what used to be his working harness. He is now retired, and so I just keep the patches on there because it makes people keep distance from him, and they keep their loose dogs away from us. It's a whole thing. Everybody knows I don't like loose dogs in our face, and neither does Adonis. So this is your regular harness. I have added this, as you can see, all the hair. Excuse the hair. You can see I've actually added padding to this because this is just pretty stiff nylon that's really, kind of sharp and uncomfortable. I've just added this extra padding. This is just some kind of material I got from Joann's, and there's 2 layers of foam liner on the inside of this, so it's nice and soft. So I've sewed this up myself. I just put it on here under the chest area and on both sides. That way it's a little more comfortable for Adonis. You can do this yourself if you'd like to. You don't have to. I just like to make sure whenever I have any item on my pet that it's nice and comfortable on them. I wouldn't want this nylon rubbing on me, even though he has pretty much the equivalent of 3 coats, as you can see from the hair on this. Golly, like a snow globe. So when you're getting your dog used to something like this is a little bit more of kind of a step-in harness, where you would have your treat here, they get used to putting their head through here, and then they have to move a foot into this. So you can either lure them to where they move their foot into this hole, as he automatically does because he's used to it, or you can undo this strap here, pull this out, and then go under them, and then you have to re-loop it through the strap, if that makes sense. But that's just something that you can work on. If your dog is not comfortable, or they don't really get the idea of moving their foot through this hole, they might get kind of like caught up and tangled, then make sure that they're comfortable while this is over their head, that you can move their arm, you can touch their arm and shoulder while they have something over their heads. That's something else that you can work on. If your puppy or your older dog is not comfortable in general with you touching their shoulders, they're kind of flinchy, work on that along with this separately, but work on both things, together. Then you can eventually combine them. So your puppy or older dog is comfortable with you getting their little arm, grabbing their little elbow and just sticking it through the hole. And then eventually they'll just get used to, when you put this on, they put their little arm in right away. You can go into the belly, snap it, reward, and they're good to go. And toss some treats for them or take them somewhere really fun. And as long as you keep it positive, the whole process, it should go much easier. My good old boy here was never easy to, get used to harnessing. But since, he wears it every day, I take him out every day. It's just one of those things. At the same time, when I show it to him, when he was little, he would run away because it's like kids who don't like clothes. So just be patient, take your time, work at your dog's pace. They will let you know when you're doing it wrong or when you're doing it right. By being wrong, they run away or they freak out. And it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Don't be hard on yourself. Just try to learn from it. Say, okay, I got to work slower next time, or I need to, put less pressure on my dog, or I need to make this object seem smaller and less intimidating, or maybe I need to, up the value of treats, or whatever it may be. So this is just kind of a few tips and tricks that I use when working with puppies or older dogs, or again, horses. I work with horses, so I do the same technique with dogs that I would with horses, in the fact that the dog is acting like a fearful prey animal, and I'm trying to desensitize them to a new tool. Believe me, it's a lot easier to desensitize a dog than it is a horse, because a horse is afraid of anything. I mean, the horse could be afraid of not only this, but the little clicky noise that moves. This little flappy thing could freak them out. A plastic bag will freak them out. One of these could freak them out. Something flapping in the wind will freak them out. But that just makes you a better trainer and owner. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have more questions. Let me know what you would like to see next time. Thanks again for watching. I do appreciate it. I love all the lovely comments and questions that I get. Thank you all so much for helping me to get to 353 subscribers. I mean, that is just amazing. I never thought that would ever happen. So thank you, thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until then, stay positive.